Microsoft Copilot SMB, 7 Ways It Cuts Real Hours Weekly. Hey, welcome. In this video, we're breaking down Microsoft Copilot SMB, 7 Ways It Cuts Real Hours Weekly. Let's get into it. Next up, what Microsoft Copilot SMB teams are actually using. Microsoft Copilot is Microsoft's AI assistant built into Microsoft 365 apps including Teams, Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. For small businesses, the most used features in 2026 are meeting summaries, email drafting, document generation, and natural language data analysis inside Excel and Power BI. The Microsoft Work Trend Index found that knowledge workers spend 57% of their time on communication and coordination tasks rather than the actual work they were hired for. That ratio is exactly where Copilot makes the biggest dent. Before you get excited, here is the honest caveat: Microsoft Copilot SMB deployment works best when your Microsoft 365 tenant is clean. Scattered SharePoint permissions, unlabeled files, and messy Teams channels all limit what Copilot can surface. If your data house is not in order, start there before expecting the AI to do the heavy lifting. Let's talk about Way 1. Email triage shows how Microsoft Copilot cuts 45 minutes per day. The average SMB manager spends 2.5 hours per day on email and post-meeting follow-up. Copilot in Outlook reduces that in 2 concrete ways. First, it summarizes long email threads into 3 to 5 bullet points, including the decision made, the action items, and who owns them. A 40-email thread that would take 15 minutes to reread takes 90 seconds with a Copilot summary. Second, Copilot in Teams generates automatic meeting recaps that include action items, decisions, and a timestamp-linked transcript. Your team stops rereading meeting notes and starts acting on them the same hour. For context, one logistics SMB running 12 daily dispatching meetings cut post-meeting admin from 22 minutes per meeting to under 5 minutes after turning on Teams Copilot. That is 34 minutes saved per day per manager from a single feature. Multiply that across a 5-person leadership team and you recover nearly 3 hours of productive capacity daily. Let's talk about now, Way 2, Power Automate workflows that run without you. Power Automate workflows are where Microsoft Copilot SMB value multiplies quickly. Copilot now assists directly inside Power Automate, letting non-technical users describe a workflow in plain English and get a draft flow back in seconds, rather than spending hours building it connector by connector. Common SMB workflows that Copilot helps configure in under an hour include invoice routing for AP approvals, new employee onboarding document checklists, support ticket triage from email to Teams channels, and contract renewal reminders pulled automatically from SharePoint metadata. The one that saves the most hours in practice is invoice routing. A manufacturing SMB with 80 employees used to have 2 finance staff manually forwarding invoices to approvers, chasing confirmations, and updating a tracking spreadsheet. After building a Copilot-assisted Power Automate flow, the entire process runs automatically. Finance recovered 11 hours per week between 2 people. That is 572 hours per year redirected from admin to actual finance work. Let's talk about next up, Way 3, Power BI dashboards and Microsoft Copilot analysis. Power BI dashboards with Copilot integration let business users ask questions in natural language and get answers without writing a single DAX formula. For SMBs that rely on weekly sales reports, inventory snapshots, or service KPIs, this means real-time back for both analysts and managers. The specific feature is Copilot in Power BI, which generates narrative summaries of dashboard visuals, answers ad hoc questions like why did revenue drop 12% in March, and suggests new visuals based on the underlying data model. It also writes DAX measures on request, which eliminates the back and forth between business users and BI developers on one-off analysis requests. Before Copilot, the typical SMB data workflow looked like this: analyst builds the report, manager asks a question the report does not answer, analyst spends 2 more hours adding a custom visual. With Copilot, the manager asks the question directly in Power BI and gets a specific answer in seconds. The analyst handles exceptions and data quality, not every ad hoc request. Now, Way 4, Dynamics 365 CRM automates the sales follow-up queue. Dynamics 365 CRM with Copilot is where sales teams see the most direct, daily time savings. Microsoft Copilot in Dynamics 365 Sales generates email drafts based on CRM context, summarizes the last 30 days of activity on any account, and flags which leads are at risk of going cold based on engagement patterns. The Copilot in Dynamics 365 Sales feature also auto-updates contact records after a meeting by reading the team's transcript. Your sales reps stop manually logging call notes. That saves 8 to 12 minutes per call, and most SMB reps make 10 to 15 calls per day. That adds up to roughly 90 minutes of daily CRM admin eliminated per rep without changing anything about the sales process itself. A professional services firm with 15 sales reps used to spend Friday afternoons bulk updating CRM records from the week's call notes. After enabling Copilot autologging in Dynamics, Friday afternoon became prospecting time. The team added 4 more outreach calls per rep per week without adding headcount or extending work hours. Next up, moving on to Way 5, document generation in Word cuts proposal time by 60%. Microsoft Copilot in Word is the feature most SMBs underestimate at first. It drafts proposals, statements of work, HR policies, compliance documents, and client presentations from a brief prompt, a template, or existing content pulled directly from SharePoint. The time math is concrete. Writing a 10-page project proposal from scratch takes a senior consultant 4 to 6 hours. Copilot drafts a structured first version in 90 seconds. The consultant spends 2 hours refining it instead of building from a blank page. That is a 60% reduction in proposal time per engagement, and for consulting or professional services SMBs that send 10 to 20 proposals per month, the compounding effect is significant. Healthcare and financial services SMBs use this heavily for policy documentation. When regulatory language changes, updating a 40-page policy manual used to require a compliance officer spending a full day on revisions. With Copilot, they describe the change, review the output, and the document is updated in under an hour. Let's talk about next up, Way 6, HIPAA-compliant workflows on Power Platform reduce admin hours. For healthcare SMBs, Microsoft Copilot SMB implementation often centers on patient intake, scheduling, and clinical documentation. Power Platform with Copilot assistance can build HIPAA-compliant workflows significantly faster than custom code, and without requiring a dedicated developer. A concrete example, a 30-provider outpatient clinic built a Copilot-assisted Power Apps intake form that auto-populates the EHR from patient-submitted data, routes incomplete forms back to patients for resubmission, and triggers appointment reminders via Power Automate. The clinic cut front desk intake time from 18 minutes per patient to 6 minutes. At 80 patients per day, that is 16 hours of front desk time recovered daily. The compliance piece matters here. Azure and Power Platform carry Microsoft's BAA coverage, which is a prerequisite for HIPAA-regulated workflows. If you are in healthcare and not sure whether your current setup qualifies, the post on 7 Azure HIPAA compliance mistakes healthcare teams make covers the most common gaps before going live with any patient-facing workflow. Next up, Way 7, AI-assisted logistics dispatch with Microsoft Copilot SMB tools. This is the most underused Microsoft Copilot SMB application in logistics companies. Combining Azure cloud solutions like Azure Maps with Power Automate flows lets SMB logistics teams automate job assignment, route optimization, and driver notifications without building a custom dispatch application. The setup involves 3 components working together. Azure Maps calculates optimal routes and estimated arrival times based on live traffic and delivery windows. Power Automate handles job assignment logic based on driver availability, vehicle type, and geographic proximity. Copilot assists in building and modifying the Power Automate flows, which means your operations manager can adjust dispatch rules in plain English rather than filing a developer ticket every time the business logic changes. A regional courier company with 45 drivers used to have 2 full-time dispatchers manually assigning 200 to 300 daily jobs from a spreadsheet. After implementing the Azure Maps and Power Automate combination, one dispatcher handles exceptions and customer calls while the system auto-assigns roughly 80% of jobs based on the rules the operations manager configured with Copilot's help. The second dispatcher role was redirected to customer service, which improved client retention without adding headcount. Now, next up, how much time can Microsoft Copilot SMB teams realistically save? The short answer is 4 to 8 hours per employee per week, based on deployment data across Microsoft customers. Microsoft's Copilot Overview documentation reports that 70% of early adopters saw measurable productivity gains, with the largest wins in communication tasks, document creation, and data analysis. The more useful framing for SMBs is role-level impact, because the savings are not evenly distributed. These numbers assume Copilot is enabled across the relevant Microsoft 365 apps and that the underlying data is reasonably clean. Poor data quality cuts these savings by 30 to 50%, which is why the data preparation step matters as much as the Copilot license itself. Now, conclusion. Microsoft Copilot SMB deployment works best when you start with one high-friction workflow, measure the before and after honestly, and build from there. If your sales team logs calls manually, start with Dynamics 365 Copilot. If your finance team routes invoices by hand, start with Power Automate. If your managers spend 45 minutes per day on post-meeting admin, start with Teams Copilot. The Microsoft stack is already in place for most SMBs reading this. Microsoft Copilot sits on top of it, which means no new vendor relationships, no migration project, and no renegotiated contracts. The marginal cost of getting these hours back is a Copilot license, not a platform rebuild. Microsoft Copilot SMB teams that get this right typically see payback on the license cost within 4 to 6 weeks. If you want to know which workflows make sense for your specific industry and team size, reach out to Q Services. We help SMBs scope, build, and measure Copilot automation programs that deliver results inside 90 days.